news and information to get you ready for today's game.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good evening. 5 o'clock. We say evening now, right? It is evening.
Sure, why not?
Monday Night Football on tap. Folks, we are in the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey. Bengals and Jaguars. Monday Night Football returns to Jaguar Nation for the first time since December of 2011. And tonight's Monday Night Football game is presented by Florida Blue, proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know how long ago it was, Mike?
What, for Monday Night Football?
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah. That week, Wayne Weaver fired Jack Del Rio. Mm-hmm. So this game, this Monday Night Football game in December of 2011, featured Mel Tucker making his debut as the interim coach. Wayne also announced that he had agreed in principle to sell the team. The new owner was going to be Shad Khan. And Blaine Gabbert was a rookie quarterback at the end of a disappointing season, obviously. That seems like forever ago.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well said. Well,
it really
yes,
does. But times have changed around these parts. And, the Jags now come into this game well-deserving of primetime exposure, and we all know the position they find themselves in after the result from Sunday Night Football, Brian. They can claim to be the best team in the AFC if they win tonight.
Yep, I agree with that. And then obviously 2 weeks from tonight, they've got Sunday Night Football, which makes its return for the first time since 2008. The Jaguars are kind of, well, to put it mildly, they're going to get used to playing primetime games if they win like they are with this quarterback playing like he does.
Oh, no question about it. And they're an attractive team because they do have an attractive young quarterback, an exciting young quarterback, an exciting skill position talent around him. They got a guy in Josh Allen having a defensive MVP league-worthy type season this year. So there's plenty of reason to get on board and watch this football team.
There was a time when Monday Night Football was the king of the hill. Mm-hmm. Sunday Night Football took over back when NBC put it on in 2007. But, ever since ESPN pumped all that money into Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, and the league is giving these premier matchups to the NFL, and this was supposed to be a premier matchup tonight. This was supposed to be Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. And sadly, it is not. But it's still a big game for the Jaguars. As you mentioned, they can keep pace with the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge game, and I don't frankly care if Joe Burrow's playing or not, right? We got to show up and win whether he's here regardless. And the cachet of having two young quarterbacks, two of the better quarterbacks in the AFC. Certainly Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. He has got that cachet, and Trevor Lawrence is trying to earn his way there throughout, the national outlook for this football team. Yeah, but look, you're right. It's ESPN, despite the fact that we think everyone in America has it, everyone doesn't have it, right? It's, less than probably 70% of households have it, so it's still widely available out there. But at the same time, they're not giving them quite the marquee matchups that you're getting on Sunday Night Football either.
No, Sunday night is still the king of the hill, but they're working hard to make sure that ESPN has some big matchups. I think they're flexing one.
Didn't work so well last week.
Yeah.
So,
it happens out. It happens that way. One more thought, and that is before anybody thinks that this is not a very capable Bengals team, they may have the best trio of receivers in football, and T. Higgins is back tonight to pair with Boyd and with Chase.
Yeah, and, particularly you look at the top two, right? I mean, Tyler Boyd makes it an interesting argument because he is a good slot receiver and a good third guy, but it really, you put up the combination of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins against the likes of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith or any other duo that you want to put out there. They have arguably the best pair or the best trio. So the skill position guys are there. The question is, do they have the quarterback that can get him the ball? Yeah. After 1 week, that answer would be not so much, right? I mean, you look at the raw numbers in the 3 appearances for Jake Browning this year. They're not terrible, right? But they had no running game last week. They couldn't maintain time of possession, so you're not getting a lot of scoring opportunities, and they only managed 10 points against just so-so Pittsburgh team.
And his first start on the road, right, and in prime time against a Jaguars team that's got their pressure package starting to create some effects. It did last week against Houston. We'll see how they get it done. How about some stories, some sound from the week?
Let's do it.
Let's start with the head coach, who was asked if the Jaguars learned something from last year's stretch run. You remember that time where they had to win every single week just to be in the conversation. What translates from last year to this year?
Obviously, it's different. Different set of circumstances, I think, this year than last year. Last year, we were kind of fighting for our lives at the end of the season. We were fighting just to, compete in the AFC South, right? This year's different when you're, it goes back to, playing with a lead, right, in games and sustaining that lead. And so now you're in that lead, obviously, in the AFC South, but at the same time, you look up at the AFC and there's bigger things for this team, right? And so our focus has to be just that. But leaning on our experiences a year ago definitely can help us in these moments.
And look, it's a different kind of pressure, but it's still pressure. And I think you can look in the eyes of a lot of the guys who are back from last year and know who was able to handle it and who was able to get the job done and even flourish in those conditions. So I do think there's some carryover in that regard that certain guys are going to rise to the occasion. But the difference here is you lose a couple, you're still overwhelmingly likely to make the postseason. But
sure.
now we're talking about a higher level of competition here, Brian. It's just not enough to make the postseason. It's to get there and have it come through your backyard if you can dictate that.
So there's pressure on both ends, right?
No doubt.
You want to stay up with those best teams, right? Right now, that's Miami and Baltimore. If you win tonight, you'll be ahead of Kansas City. But also yesterday, the Texans won to apply some pressure from the back end. They're 7-5, and if you win tonight, you'll have a 2-game advantage. If you don't, you only have a 1-game lead with 5 to play.
Well, we should mention the Colts, who are actually ahead of the Texans right now at 7-5, and they've got the head-to-head tiebreaker over Houston. So, 8-4 and 2 teams at 7-5, even though you have the tiebreakers
over
currently. You have the sweep over Indy. You have the tiebreaker based on division record over Houston at this moment. You still would have to finish out with a win over Tennessee. It just makes it a lot more real that you're in a division race. You win this game. I mean, this is a game the Jags should win, and they should continue to set their sights on a higher level of competition, being the number 1 seed in the AFC.
All right, the National Football League gets their first Monday night look at Trevor Lawrence, and he was asked this week about playing on Monday night. Obviously, he's a younger guy. He grew up with the bright lights of Sunday night football, but he understands that in order to play on these big stages where you're the only game being played, you have to earn it.
I don't know exactly what the process is on deciding who plays those games, before the season starts, but I think it shows that we're, a team that's playing well, that, had a little bit of success last year and has earned an opportunity to play on one of the bigger stages, which is cool to be recognized in that light. But at the end of the day, you still got a job to do and take care of business on Mondays. The only thing we're thinking about is just finding a way to win the game. So, we gotta maximize the opportunity and take advantage of it, but it doesn't change anything. We might just have some more people watching the game, and it's a night game and it's on Monday. That's the only difference. But same job, same task for us.
I understand what he's trying to do there. I don't fully buy that.
I don't either.
I've never met a player that doesn't get more excited about playing in primetime because all your peers are watching you. You get to, quote, show out for the league and all the fan bases, and you've got the attention of the entire NFL audience, right? And this is not a 9:30 on Sunday type situation where you also have the attention, but this is prime time,
completely different,
all day long. You've been waiting for this one.
Well, we're looking here, and we've got monitors on in the studio around us with ESPN, and they've got wall-to-wall coverage
of the Jags and the Bengals.
On
yes,
all their networks. They are doing drop-ins. One show is live here. They're going to have someone jump into the pool. I think RG3 at some point tonight. They've got a lot planned. This is more than just a football game for the community. Still, we find out if they're focused, and this is a team that's all about football when they step out on the field for warm-ups.
We'll find out if ESPN's still using some of that B-roll with the Jacksonville landing in the background, too. So,
right.
Don't think we won't be watching for that, ESPN, you lazy.
For a couple of years. I love you, Mike. You were so much fun to work with. All right, how about Calvin Ridley has come alive in recent weeks because Zay Jones is in the lineup? Mike's got some numbers on that, which are interesting. But first, let's hear from Calvin with the offense finally starting to get some traction.
I feel like I've been saying it all year because we ain't been doing that good. But I knew we could. I knew what we got. I mean, let me take that from us. I know what we got. Of course, I'd rather be doing what we about to start doing and now than earlier. And then we was playing good earlier, and now we're getting worse, but we're getting better as we go. So I mean, I'm all for that. And I knew it would be like that. I mean, the talent that we had, we wasn't doing our thing in the beginning, but eventually I said it. I was like, it's gonna pop.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley's had the whole "what me worry" kind of thing going on all season long. They lost to San Fran. He's like, we still won all those other games, yeah, right? It'll be all right. It'll be fine. And then they've since righted the ship a little bit. The numbers you're talking about, everyone looks at the impact Zay Jones has had on this offense, but to see the actual just prediction of where Calvin Ridley would be through a full 17-game season if he was producing at the same average clip he is right now with Zay Jones. Right now, in the games where Zay Jones doesn't play, if you work it out to a 17-game season, Calvin Ridley would catch 51 passes for 612 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, that may have been high cotton for a lot of Jaguar wide receivers over the last 15 years.
Dennis Northcutt would have loved those numbers.
That ain't good now.
Last time Monday Night Football was here.
Here is the pace Calvin Ridley is on for 17 games when Zay Jones suits up. 99 catches, 1,520 yards, and 14 touchdowns.
Those are Jimmy Smith numbers.
I mean, that's first-team All-Pro type numbers, 100%. Or at least in the conversation. It's definitely Pro Bowl type production, and it just goes to show you kind of that symbiotic relationship. You got to have all your pieces out there for all of them to flourish.
You know what that is? That's the difference between him being able to say to the Jaguars, I want $20 million, as opposed to having to go knock on doors in free agency.
Could be.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We'll see if he carries it through here over tonight and the remaining 5 games of the regular season. If he does, the Jaguars will be hosting the playoffs. I'll make that prediction right now. All right, Jaguars game plan, you would think tonight, Mike, is to stop the run, right? Take away Joe Mixon. It worked for the Steelers last week, and Mixon is a big back now. Don't misunderstand. He's 6'2", 225. If he gets rolling, he can really lean into a defense. Talk with Foye Oluokun about this defense and the way that they're playing. And he said, for all the pass rush numbers we've gotten, all the takeaways, our personality is stopping the run.
I think that's our mindset all the time is stop the run. That's first key to victory for us every week is stop the run. So we know he's a dynamic back and he can do a lot out the backfield with the screen game and the pass game, quick games and stuff that get the ball to him. Different ways because he's a dynamic runner. So if we stop the run, we make somebody one-dimensional. I think that's the way to play football right now is don't let people open up their playbook on you. So it's going to be a tall task for us, but we got to do it.
I think one of the best ways they can do that tonight is to score early, right? And not let Cincinnati just try to bleed the clock and make this a low possession type game. Joe Mixon has averaged 3.9 yards a carry. He's only had 2 games this year where he's gone for 80 yards or better. This running game has not been robust even when Joe Burrow has been playing this year. So, yeah, clearly you don't want that to change tonight.
The Jaguars' run defense has been ranked statistically in the top 5.
Absolutely.
Almost the entire season, Mike. And as I look at it, I think this run defense might be the best we have seen since, well, clearly the best since 2017. But I just get the sense, as you go back and look at the numbers, that this run defense is better than the 17 run defense.
Well, look at what happened last week. You had Devin Singletary coming in hot off a couple of 100-yard games. And after a while, Houston just realized we're not going to get anywhere handing it to the running backs. And, you've got one guy, Bijan Robinson, who went over 100 yards against the Jags all year, and it didn't even seem like that at the time.
He had the 38-yard run in the third quarter, which kind of pushed his numbers up.
And that happens, and that's fine. You know what, Bijan, you earned it. Fine. Yep. You got your 100, but, that's the one lone mark against them in that department, and they won that football game. So I think, again, if the Jags get on the accelerator early with the offense, they'll take out Cincinnati's ability to stay with the run.
Final thought from Andre Sisco now. We led off here talking about that 3-headed monster, Boyd, Chase, and Higgins. Chase, though, is the one that stands out. He's going to be a 3-time 1,000-yard receiver before his 3rd season in the NFL ends. He's a 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a terrific receiver. And I said to Sisco, I think he's the best receiver in the game.
I agree with you. He's the best in the game. He just brings an element of, you can see the confidence on film. He's going to keep running his routes. He's not affected by you maybe getting a few PBUs on him. He's going to keep running his routes. Obviously elite in the vertical game, vertical passing game. And, really strong. So, he's a threat all over the field.
All right. You guys may not be aware that Tyreek Hill still plays in the NFL, but that's fine. But if you take the package of talent, right, and it's a different circumstance. If Jamar Chase was playing with Tua in that offense, what numbers would he put up? I get it, right? I'm just being a little facetious here. He's amongst a handful of 2 or 3 guys that you would consider a candidate, along with Justin Jefferson and Hill. Probably those are the leading guys. And Chase could do everything. He's as good as they come. And I would expect tonight they're looking to throw the ball quick, short, get it in his hands, let him use his run after the catch ability. And Browning, this is something he did off the bench a couple of weeks ago. He's not afraid. He'll throw the 50-50 ball up, even the 33-67 ball. Like, he will give Jamar Chase a chance to make plays even when he's covered. And I think this offense has to do that to be successful.
Like the other 2 guys that you mentioned. And yeah, I remember that Tyreek Hill is explosive, beyond explosive. This guy, you can't double cover. He can beat double coverage. There are only a few guys that can do it. He's one of them.
I absolutely can, right? I mean, you're going to try to double cover him. I know what you're saying. Like, double covering him, the attempt of putting 2 men on him doesn't mean it's going to be successful.
No,
right.
It does not. All right, folks, we got a lot more to come here in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show, including
get in the hotel and rest up and, just don't peak too early before the game.
That's new left guard Ezra Cleveland, who joins us to talk about a midseason move in professional football in this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. Plus, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco has a conversation with Mike Dempsey. The Bengals and Jaguars just more than 3 hours away. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
Calling all junior fire chiefs. Parents, register for your child to win the ultimate Jaguars game day experience. Cheering on the Jags from the brand new Firehouse Subs fire truck at EverBank Stadium, flashing the fire truck lights when the Jags score. As honorary junior fire chief of the game, your child will receive a Firehouse Subs gift, and the whole family will receive 4 tickets and a parking pass to a home game this season. Visit Jaguars.com/sweepstakes to enter to win today. See website for terms and conditions.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors. That we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible, while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water. And that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. SMART. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
And welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios inside EverBank Stadium. Bengals Jaguars kickoff time 8:15 Monday Night Football from EverBank Stadium. You know who likes Monday Night Football?
You.
Well, I do. Absolutely, I do. But Pete Prisco does, too. He loves the marquee matchups. He loves to see the ball going up and down the field. I'm sure he was really looking forward to the Burrow-Lawrence affair as well. But I know you caught up with him this week to talk about big games.
Did. As a matter of fact, spoke with Pete earlier today and, wanted it to be fresh with the circumstances changing for where the Jags are right now, and wanted to get Pete's thoughts on, whether or not the knowledge that they now control the number one seed in the AFC playoff picture gives that Jags a little added boost tonight.
Well, I think it gives you added motivation because if you win out, you will be the number one seed in all probability. So, yeah, I think it's a great thing to take the field in front of the national TV audience who gets to finally see them on the big stage and gets to see them on Monday Night Football for the first time since 2011.
Yeah, I really feel, Pete, and we've had a couple of letdown performances from the Jags when they didn't seem to have their A game right from the jump. I can't imagine that that's the case tonight, even without the number one seed being on the line, the chance to kind of show the world what you're all about, to be that standalone game and to be in position to jockey for the best seed possible in the AFC. It's all right there for them.
Yeah, it is. And, look, this is kind of the scenario I thought would play out before the season. I said they would end up with the number one seed in the AFC. And, at points this season, it didn't look that way, but they've kind of regrouped, particularly on offense. I think that's the biggest difference in this team right now. You get Zay Jones back, you start moving Calvin Ridley around, and I think the offense has really started to look like the offense I thought it would look like.
I think one of the things tonight, Pete, it's a combination of factors, but, you've got to make sure you don't allow the big play, right? Just keep everything in front of you. That Jake Browning has to prove that he can drive the Cincinnati Bengals on 10, 12-play scoring drives if they're going to win this game. And as long as you don't allow the quick strike, where the defender falls down or you miss an easy tackle, I think it's going to be hard for Cincinnati to stay in this football game in the fourth quarter.
I agree with you, Mike, in large part because they haven't run the ball very well either. And this is a good team that, Jacksonville's been good against the run, so that puts even more pressure on Jake Browning to make plays. Now, they have playmakers outside, so you got to be careful about those guys, and we know those guys can take a pass and go, 65 yards for a touchdown. So you're right. Keep everything in front. Make sure you tackle. Don't allow the big play, and they don't run the ball that well, so I think it'll be helpful for you to make it one-dimensional.
For that matter, nobody really runs the ball that well, at least with their running backs when they're playing the Jags, and I don't think that's going to be a big exception tonight with Joe Mixon. Pete, on the other side, for the Jags offensive line, Cam Robinson down. Look, we understand Walker Little is quite capable, and he played well down the stretch last year, but this puts the Jags in a position where they really can't afford another injury up front.
Correct, and that's why they went out and got Ezra Cleveland. I mean, that's the reason. It's the exact reason why you did that, in case you did have any injuries on the offensive line. It gave you some depth there, and I think they're glad they did do that. But you're right. I mean, when you have a guy go down on your starting offensive line, it's never a good thing. But I think Walker Little's more than capable, and I think Ezra Cleveland's capable if he can get in there and play left guard.
And they've done a good job in recent weeks of protecting Trevor Lawrence. And, Pete, quite frankly, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence would tell you he just wants to win this football game, stack another victory, move on to next week. But this is an opportunity for him to help define the narrative on his own play. How do you think he responds tonight?
Yeah, and I think last week was big for him. There was the narrative, and he wasn't playing up to the level expected of him, and I think last week was a good thing. And that kind of the offense I thought we would see. I think it's the kind of the quarterback I thought we would see. So yeah, I think there's this narrative out there. It's misguided that he isn't good, that he's got the potential to be great. So yeah, on the national stage, he can go out there and show people, look, this is who I am. I can put up big numbers, and I will put up big numbers.
ETN comes in a little bit banged up tonight. So whether it's tonight or at some point in the future, if the Jags needed to lean on Dearness Johnson a little bit more, do you think he's up to it?
I do. And I've always thought that. Tank Bigsby had his moments where, he turned the ball over and he's, done some things where he's not great in pass protection, doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think they lean on Dearness Johnson. You got to protect ETN down the stretch. You want that guy healthy in the playoffs. You want him healthy down the stretch. So if there's any chance that he's banged up and maybe tries to go and it does go, but he's not the same guy, get him out of there and let Dearness Johnson get the carries.
All right, give it to us, Pete. How's the game going to go tonight?
Oh, I think the offense is going to continue the flow from last week. I don't see Jake Browning putting up big numbers. I think Jacksonville wins this one by 14 and get the number one seed right now. And here we are. in December, and talking about Jacksonville with the #1 overall seed, that hasn't been the case in a long, long, long time.
I will say this: if any Bengals in town were listening to any of 1010XL, I think they're going to find that most of Jacksonville thinks the Jags are going to win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Agreed. I happen to agree with you, but I was watching that Arizona-Pittsburgh game at one point yesterday, and Arizona walked in there with 2 wins. Now, they had Kyler Murray, different story.
Sure.
But they walloped the Steelers, and nobody thought that was coming, so you better buckle up.
Hey, look, that's why they play him, right? At least in the NFL. That's why they play him.
Our player interview this week is a guy you talked about, Mike, Ezra Cleveland, and he's presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jaguars. You remember the day after the trade deadline. People said, Cleveland, what about a pass rusher, right? You need this guy now, all of a sudden, with Cam Robinson's injury. It would have been a lot stickier without him, and he played well last week. In fact, Jeff Vogelman told me, and I'm sure he told you, he's their best left guard right now as he steps into the lineup just a few weeks into this thing. So I asked him about what it takes to make a mid-season move in an NFL season.
No, and it was new for me too, but I think having Phil here and everything made the transition a lot easier. The O-line here was kind of took me in and, made me a friend really quick, so they made it a lot easier as well. But, no, it's been fun, and it's new, and I don't know who would get to do this, but hopefully it works out like it did for me.
Does it make it easier that you come into a team that's contending, that's not just at the top of the division, but with a shot to have the #1 overall seed in the conference?
Yeah, I'm sure that helps the mood around the building a little more. I remember the first week I came in, I was like, wow, everyone's in a great mood. It was after they just beat the Steelers. I was like, I don't know if it's normally like this or just because, they just came off a huge road win or what. But, no, everyone here is always in a good mood. And I don't think it's because of the winning. So,
offensive line groups are generally pretty tight. I mean, do you struggle to break in with this group? Is it unusual or rare that you would find such a welcoming group?
This is the first time I've gone through this. I have no idea. I remember in Minnesota, we were really close. And when a new guy would come in our room, we'd try to welcome him because, going through it's not easy. And just being as welcoming as possible is really nice for the guy coming in. And these guys did that for me here. They invited me to O-line dinner. I had Thanksgiving at Shadley's house. They're just trying to get me to be part of the group, and they did a good job at that.
You come from Boise. You play in Minneapolis. You're all of a sudden in Florida. How's the weather treating you? Is it tough? Because not everybody deals with the heat the same way.
Thankfully I came in late enough to where the weather hasn't been too bad. I joke around that I brought the cold weather because, everyone had frost on their windshield yesterday morning. So I think I brought the cold weather, but if it does get hot, I heard tomorrow's supposed to be a high 80. It gets brutal. The cold zones help over outside of practice. But no, it's not too bad. In the winter in Minnesota and Boise, it gets up there. Not like Florida, but, I haven't had to go through that yet. So.
All right, so you step into the starting lineup because of an injury to Cam Robinson. You obviously were starting before you got injured in Minnesota. Is that a huge challenge to step in and play the entire game?
It was definitely a challenge. I had it off. I think in terms of play calling, it was that was the only challenge, because I played at Minnesota, played at the level that we need to play at for a while. Just having to know the little details and stuff of the playbook out there and kind of talking to Luke and Walker on the fly. If I didn't know what was going on, they helped me out a lot. So it was challenging in that aspect, but in terms of just coming out and playing, I just try to do what I normally do and, have fun out there. And if you're not having fun playing football, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Did you see Brian Baldinger's breakdown of you out in front of the screen pass?
I play video games with a lot of guys, and some people were talking about it, but no, not really. I actually have Twitter deleted, so yeah.
Not a social media guy.
I have Instagram. The O-line in Minnesota all deleted Twitter. There's some stuff going on that we didn't want to really focus on, so it was best that we deleted it, and it's been nothing. It's been great ever since. So I don't plan on re-downloading it.
Final thought then. Monday Night Football. You've played some Monday Night Football games with the Vikings. People here haven't seen it since 2011. How do you get ready for it? Obviously, it's all day, and then there's the emotion of being the only team, and there's light shows and ESPN. And what would you tell someone who hasn't played on Monday Night Football?
So luckily, all through college, my games were at 7:30, 8:30, so I'm kind of used to the night games. They did a good job here at kind of keeping the week. They gave it extra day throughout the week, so it's kind of the same, just one day extra, if that makes sense. We got an extra day off. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just you got to get in the hotel and rest up and, just don't peak too early before the game. But no, it's fun to go out there on Monday night and play in front of everyone.
I think people are going to be really glad that the Jaguars made that trade at the end of October to bring him in as this season goes along. Because when you watch him on tape, Mike, he's a guy who is a natural guard.
Well, he's that, and, he's the guy who got downfield to, great effect, and he's a very athletic guy, and that's what the Jags like on their offensive line. They like guys who can move around a little bit. But I have to admit, I'm now very curious as to what prompted the entire offensive line of Minnesota to delete their Twitter accounts.
Yeah, he didn't want to go there, so I left it alone.
But I'm curious. I'll be on the lookout.
You'll be looking for that one. All right, it was a good story. Much more to come here on the Publix Tailgate Show, including...
Although everybody sees it as offensive line, both positions create its own set of issues. They got to deal with them.
That's offensive line coach Phil Rauscher, who joins us to talk about an offensive line that looks different than it did in early November. The Bengals and Jaguars are coming up at 8:15 from EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Monday Night Football on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hi Jags fans, Andre Sisco here, safety of the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, I've partnered up with Luray Peanut Company to serve a greater mission for the Jacksonville community with the Peanut Pick-Off. Here's the deal. Every time the Jags make a pick, Luray is going to donate to youth football initiatives in and around the Jacksonville area. On top of that, the Jaguars Foundation will match every dollar. With each interception, our team inches closer to that W, and our kids get to train for a brighter future. Remember, it was always the Jags. Duval!
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative. Results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softee.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
And welcome back. The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along here on a Monday night. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure, and the Bengals and Jaguars will kick it off just after 8:15 this evening, and I'm with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. Tonight's game is presented by Florida Blue, proud to be the exclusive healthcare insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's time here in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
The loss of a starting quarterback, devastating. No other way to say it. Look at the college football playoff rankings yesterday. Now tonight, no Joe Burrow for Cincinnati. As a matter of fact, next week, no Deshaun Watson, where the Jags go on the road to take on Cleveland. Yeah, they'll play 3 straight AFC North opponents. And tonight, the Bengals basically playing out the remainder of the year. They're in last place in the AFC North. 2 of these games will be prime time. That includes Monday Night Football. And for the Jaguar players, they spoke about it all week in the locker room, the opportunity to show the rest of the league what they're all about. As far as the game, I like the Jaguars tonight big. Press Taylor the last couple of weeks has really called solid football games. Trevor Lawrence has had the opportunity to throw the football downfield. What I'd like to see tonight is a little bit more out of D'Ernest Johnson. In consecutive weeks, he's had 7 carries apiece. But to me, the eye test has been better than the actual average per carry. I still believe when it's all said and done, you look at Travis Etienne, he came into the week 2nd overall in carries. They're going to need another back. Will they go back to Tank Bigsby at some point? We'll see. If not, the veteran D'Ernest Johnson is a guy that I do think is going to be a big part of this thing throughout December and January. Finally, this one is for all you Jaguar lifers. Yeah, we just finished the week in which it was announced 30 years ago that the Jaguars would become an NFL franchise. And what about tonight? It's been more than 12 years in the making. Who would have thought? Monday Night Football right here in Duval. Jag fans, sit back, actually stand up and enjoy this one.
Just a thought. He talked about D'Ernest Johnson, who's clearly the number 2 back here. And you talked with Pete Prisco, and Pete mentioned the trust issues with Tank Bigsby are about protection as much as anything. Just want to throw this out there. Bigsby has 4 6-yard rushes in his last 10 carries. My thought is we're going to see him at some point over this stretch come into the ball game in the 3rd or 4th quarter when they need a big first down on 3rd and short, which has really been a trouble spot for this team this year. And people are going to hold their breath, but I think Bigsby comes through. Yeah,
it's that holding your breath part, though. I think you're right. They will, and hopefully he will come through there because, look, D'Ernest Johnson's a really good football player.
And he's playing well.
Was excited when they signed him, and, you need guys like that to step up, and hopefully Travis Etienne will be fine, can take his normal amount of reps the rest of the season. But if not, you got a good couple of options.
All right. Well, Jaguars offensive line coach Phil Rauscher certainly hopes so. He has been busy this season, perhaps a little busier this week with the injury to left tackle Cam Robinson and moving his lineups around. The good news is Ezra Cleveland, who we just heard from, has played well, and the offensive line has played really well the last 2 weeks after a rough game against the 49ers a few weeks ago.
I just think that each game we're striving to get better, and the guys have really done a really nice job the last 2 weeks, owning the protection plan and getting after them. So it's been really good.
Do you see how a loss motivates a team, or is that just overblown by guys like me in the media?
Guys love to compete. Guys love to win. So, when you lose and the expectation level is to win every game, it does relight the fire a little bit, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing to lose, but it's a good thing to get refocused, re-energized, and ready to play the next one.
Cam Robinson's obviously down for a couple of weeks. How much of a loss is that for you, and not just as a player, but as the way that he communicates and the kind of leader and the kind of competitor he is?
Yeah, it's always going to be tough when you lose a guy like Cam. I mean, he's basically a captain of the group, and just how he carries himself, goes about his business, the fire he plays with, it's hard to replicate.
But how's he doing?
He's doing great. He's getting his rehab, he's getting all of his work in with Ferg, and he'll be fine. He'll be fine in the end.
So Walker slides out. Doug had said in recent weeks that long term you see Walker as a tackle. Do you see it that way? He fits outside.
Walker's built to play tackle, and he's done a great job at guard. So he's just a good overall offensive lineman. I think he's, because of his size and length, he fits playing in space pretty good, and that's why he feels a little bit more natural at the tackle position. It's what he grew up playing. So I think that move transition back outside is going to be good for him.
Doug has mentioned a couple of times his appreciation for a guy who can step in and play guard, even though he's built to play tackle. Can you just share with us, what it takes for a guy to be able to move, especially during the season?
It's extremely difficult. I mean, just although everybody sees it as offensive line, both positions create its own set of issues that you got to deal with them. When you're playing guard, you got a guy right on your face all the time that you got to deal with. And when you're playing tackle, you got to deal with a little bit more speed, you got a little bit more space. And those transitioning from one to the other can be difficult. What Walker did last Sunday, going from guard to tackle in the same game and playing at a high level is very hard to do. And we were very appreciative of his efforts there.
It goes without saying that the midseason trade for Ezra Cleveland comes really in handy now. He's a guy that you know. Tell me about how he's done for you in the time that he's been on the field and what you liked about him when he came down here.
Ezra's athleticism is you can't deny. And he does a great job in protections. He does a great job learning the system and getting done everything that we need to get done. And overall, we're just really happy to have him.
They're a tight-knit group, aren't they? I mean, they like to have fun. People think of offensive linemen as being crazy serious, but the guys that just walk by had big smiles on their face. They're a tight group, aren't they?
They're a really tight group. I think that they pride themselves on being a tight group. They go to dinner on Thursdays together. They watch tape together. They do pretty much everything together, so they have a good time.
And the quarterback has stood in front of the media twice in the last week and talked about the love he has for the way that they have stepped up to the challenges that they have faced this year. The relationship between the quarterback and the offensive line is obviously a very important one. Off the field, it's special to have the one that it seems these guys have.
Oh, yeah. Trev's an honorary offensive lineman. Him and CJ and Rourke. I mean, they're in our meeting room all the time. I mean, every morning they go in there and they drink their coffee and they watch them tape together. And it's good. It's a good group to have.
Final thought, this is the stretch run here. This is when contenders separate themselves. And this football team looks to be playing its best football now over the last 2 weeks. What does it take to continue that level of consistency, Phil?
You can't get complacent. You always got to be working. You always got to be driving yourself to be the best. And I think this group has it.
All right, Mike. So the eye test here from you. The offensive line has technically allowed one sack the last 2 weeks. And I say technically because that one sack was Trevor running out of bounds with the ball in his hand instead of throwing it away against the Titans. How well is this offensive line playing from what you see?
It's definitely playing better in that regard, but not to take anything away from them, I don't think they played the two most fearsome pass rushing units out there.
And they're not getting that tonight either.
I'll say this, Houston got after Russell Wilson very well yesterday. So you look at it and say maybe the Jags, stepped up a little bit more than we thought. But the one guy tonight, Trey Hendrickson, is better individually as a pass rusher than anybody the last couple of opponents have had. So I think that's going to be a better test, particularly if he gets matched up with Anton Harrison a good bit.
He's got 10.5 sacks on the season, and Doug Peterson said this week that Anton has been tested, and he has not always been helped like you might expect a rookie to be helped, and he's getting better. And he said it's a good thing because Hendrickson and then next week Myles Garrett, back-to-back weeks, certainly creates a challenge for that young man. All right, much more ahead. If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, look no further than Ford F-150. It's loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coming up at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show with JP Shadrick. But before we get to the second hour, Jaguars analyst Jeff Loggeman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the booth. The Bengals and Jaguars kick off at 8:15 Eastern on Monday Night Football. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. It's getting chilly outside, but you can enjoy the outside inside with a new glass lanai from Lifetime Enclosures. Or look ahead and get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. And for the time being, you can stop into Lifetime Flooring to enter to win $20,000 in free flooring during the Score Free Floors promotion. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway and proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game. Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number one among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today.
Final segment of hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. It's Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios. And the Bengals and Jaguars just over 2 hours away from the return of the Jaguars to Monday Night Football. And tonight's game is presented by Florida Blue, the official health insurance solutions partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Before we get to the main event of this final block, if you're a Jags fan who's always on the move, they've got the perfect plan for you with the bundle at the bank. You can purchase tickets to 3 or more games starting at just $58. Get the flexibility you want for your time this fall. Visit jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. And now, without further delay, time for First Rounds on Us.
New York Jets, first-round choice, Jeff Lageman.
Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Baselli.
So a week ago, we asked Tony Baselli about the challenge of handling the entire broadcast by himself. And it must have been so overwhelming that he decided not to show up for this segment because Jeff Lageman is with us in the booth.
I'm here, Brian.
Oh, well, they said you weren't.
Well, they lied to you.
Oh.
Come on.
How are you, Tony?
I don't miss.
I heard that yes, and I knew right away.
Thank you, Mike. I mean, at least there's one professional in the studio today. I mean, telling lies before we even get started, Brian.
Well, when I went to the break, I heard you weren't there. So.
I wasn't, actually. I was getting coffee.
Yeah. So you snuck in on me, Baselli. I appreciate that about you.
No problem.
6'7" and
stealth mode.
Sometimes he can be hard to find.
That is fair.
Well, if you weren't there, the UF Health delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes, that's their game plan. Question was going to be how Jeff was going to possibly put you back in the box.
Yes.
After last week, your dominance of the airwaves. But let's start with something completely different. Let's start with how do the Jaguars shift the offensive line and does it require anything, or is Walker Little just a natural at left tackle and Ezra Cleveland steps in? Is there any trickiness to this at all, or is it just ready to go?
No, I think it's ready to go. I think Walker Little's a better tackle than guard. I thought he played very well the first 4 games of the season. I think Jeff and I both thought he was the best offensive lineman when he was playing left tackle of the 5. And so you kick him back out where I think he's just more comfortable. It's where he wants to be. I think if you gave him truth serum. And then you bring Ezra Cleveland, who, based on what I saw last week, and Jeff and I talked about this right before we came on the air, he might be your best interior offensive lineman. I thought he was outstanding.
Might be.
Okay, he is. I was trying to qualify it a little bit.
Stop putting sugar on it.
All right, fair enough. So I actually think, I think Ezra Cleveland was going to be your left guard probably, regardless of an injury at some point.
Yeah, he was really good last week.
He
was the most physical offensive lineman on the field in Houston last week.
He finishes blocks. One of my big, and I've said this on the Monday night show, I've said it on 10:10 in the morning on Mondays, we don't finish enough. When we get up, there's too many guys that get up to the next level, and we don't physically try to dominate linebackers. And guys come off, make tackles. And I thought Ezra did a great job of finishing.
Yeah, I think he's a really nice addition. I mean, a really nice pickup by the team because it allows you the flexibility to have Walker Little playing tackle in case of injury, which has now happened, and it also gives you arguably your best guard. And it's going to be fun to watch him through the rest of the season. I don't see him getting supplanted, even with Cam comes back, and then now you're trying to figure out, okay, where's Walker going to play? I just don't see that changing. Ezra Cleveland is your left guard for the rest of the year.
Well, I think, Jeff, the interesting thing, we got to wait and see how long is Cam out. We know it's at least 4 because of being on IR, he can't come back, which tells me if they did it, it's probably greater than 4. Do they even ever go back and make that change? If you're on a playoff run and this group's playing well with Ezra and Walker,
keep rolling.
Who knows what's going to happen? But right now, to answer your question, Brian, I don't think it's any issues. I think Walker will be better at tackle. I think you slide in Ezra, who's Jeff and I just talked about him. And I think you go up, just kind of roll the ball out there and let's go.
Well, and Walker Little's got to play well now. Trey Hendrickson's a good football player. Okay, with the Cincinnati Bengals, he's a guy that's had, I think, double-digit sacks 3 different years, counting this year at 10.5. And he's their most dangerous pass rusher. And Sam Hubbard's not a slouch on the other side. He's got good effort. He's a good player. I think he's going to stress Anton Harrison as well.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you, Jeff, there. I don't think he'll stress Anton Harrison. I think Anton Harrison the last several weeks has gotten better and better and better. And I thought he played his best game against Houston. He was not helped very much. He was asked to block one-on-one against another rookie, Will Anderson, and he completely shut him down. And Will Anderson came in had the most pressures, 38 going into last week. And if you watched yesterday, he played very well yesterday. I think Anton Harrison's really rounding in. Especially in the pass blocking, I think he needs to improve. He needs to finish in the run game better, just like a lot of guys up front. But I don't think he'll struggle with Sam Hubbard.
Well, let's talk about that run game then, right? Because last week, Pittsburgh's combo of Najee Harris and Jalen Warren went for 148 on the ground against this Cincinnati team. So you would think the Jags could have some success running the ball. Do you think that will be the major focus of the game plan tonight to get ETN, Dearness Johnson, and company rolling?
Well, I think they're going to try it, but I would disagree saying that it's going to be the focus of the game plan because the reality is I think the Bengals got some issues in coverage that the Jaguars can take advantage of, and they lost Taylor Britt. He goes on IR, which he was arguably their best player in the secondary. So I think the Bengals are going to have a hard time matching up, Mike, with this Jaguars wide receiving group. Would the Jaguars like to be able to come out and bang it out for 4.5 yards to carry with ETN and also Dearness Johnson? Yeah, sure. But I think it's more just to set up the pass. It's not, okay, we're going to come out here and 4 yards and a cloud of green dust.
Well, and Jeff, based on the last 5 weeks,
can't do it.
They haven't. I mean, Travis Etienne's under 4 yards a carry. Last week he was under 3, and if it wasn't for a 20-yard run at the end of the game, he was under 2. And so, I mean, Mike, I agree with Jeff. I think this team, it almost feels like their attitude's like, we're going to run the ball, but only to set up the passing game.
Yeah, to make you respect it.
That's right.
But this is, make no mistake, this is a pass-first offense. And the most important thing in this ball game, whether you run it or whether you pass it, okay, doesn't matter to me. Just score some points and protect the ball. Because I believe that's the only way that you can fail
in this game tonight against a Bengals team that's struggling, that's reeling, whatever term that you want to use. Defensively, they're struggling. Offensively, they're playing a guy who is inexperienced, making only his second career start. So I just don't see how you lose unless you end up screwing up a lot.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff 100%. The two keys for this whole game today were, to me, is start fast, don't even give them any hope, and then don't turn the ball over. If you don't give them gifts, they're not beating you.
All right, well, let's look at from the Jaguars' defensive perspective. Obviously, without Joe Burrow, this is not the high-level passing attack that we're used to seeing from Cincinnati, but the wide receivers are still very high level. They get T. Higgins back. They already have Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. Even with Jake Browning at quarterback, how much of a challenge is this for the Jags secondary?
Well, I think it's a big challenge, especially if you don't play bully ball and stop the run, or you're kind of off balance, and that's where the Jaguars have struggled. Go back and look at the 49ers game. But, man, Mike, you're right. Jamar Chase, stud. I mean, one of the most impressive young wide receivers, I think, in NFL history. The fourth fastest to 200 catches, the fifth fastest to 3,000 yards receiving. He's not only got deep speed, but he's got this electricity to him once he gets the ball in his hands. T. Higgins coming back from the injury, the hamstring. He's a good football player. He also can stretch the field. Tyler Boyd's a good, solid, dependable veteran wide receiver. So, I mean, the receiving group is really good. And can they take advantage of that? I mean, if Jake Browning can find a groove, yeah. But the whole idea of playing a little bit of bully ball in today's game is to not allow him to find a groove because he's got too much pressure because of the down and distance, because you're kicking their rear ends with their running game. And Joe Mixon has not been great, Tony.
No.
And you got to keep it that way.
Yeah, they've struggled to run the ball, and they've struggled to get Joe Mixon going. And it's not a great offensive line. They spent a lot of money in the offseason signing Orlando Brown, the former Chief at left tackle. I think he's an individual that Josh Allen can really dominate if Josh does what he's been doing. I think Trayvon Walker can overwhelm their right tackle, who's a little bit undersized, Jonah Williams. He's not the biggest man. He actually did okay against.
He's pretty good.
He did pretty good against Watt last week. I'll give him credit. But I think Trayvon can push him back into the lap. So I think there's opportunities. If they can do what Jeff said, Jeff's 100% correct. Stop the run, take Mixon out of the game, and see if the young quarterback can beat you.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a good broadcast. And, Locke, keep your eye on that big guy. 1 minute he's there, next minute he's not.
Well, I'm going to disappear in a second here again, Brian.
I'll see you on the field. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. JP Shadrick is here, and he'll take over for hour number 2. Mike, thanks so much. Enjoy the game.
Brian, you do the same.
All right, folks, you're listening. This is the end of hour number 1. Hour number 2 is up next on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called The Vault. Enter today at jaguars.com/shadows. One winner a guest for every home game at EverBank Stadium. No purchase to enter or win, must be 18 or older and a legal resident of Florida or Georgia. Promotion period 9/5/23 through 12/15/23. For official rules and complete details, visit jaguars.com/shadows. Sponsored by Jacksonville Jaguars, LLC.
Huddle up, score the title of most fired up Jags fan and win the ultimate VIP watch party experience. 505 Southwestern has teamed up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bono's Pit Barbecue, and Yucatan Guac to give you and 30 friends an unforgettable experience. Hang with Jackson DeVille and the Roar cheerleaders at the Bono's Town Center location as you cheer on the Jags during their last game of the season against the Titans. Free food, course beer, and prizes included. Enter to win at jaguars.com/ jaguars.com/sweepstakes.
Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/jags and discover a world of private jet travel today. Calling all junior fire chiefs. Parents, register for your child to win the ultimate Jaguars game day experience. Cheering on the Jags from the brand new Firehouse Subs fire truck at EverBank Stadium, flashing the fire truck lights when the Jags score. As honorary junior fire chief of the game, your child will receive a Firehouse Subs gift, and the whole family will receive 4 tickets and a parking pass to a home game this season. Visit jaguars.com/sweepstakes to enter to win today. See website for terms and conditions. As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Jaguars at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you've got the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. That's Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away, a little over 2 hours now from Week 13 and Monday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals at 5-6. The Jacksonville Jaguars 8-3. EverBank Stadium, Jacksonville, the site. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios, and tonight's game is presented by Florida Blue, proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Monday night, lights are on, tailgating going on. Big-time matchup for the Jaguars, who now control their own destiny for the number 1 seed.
Yes, they control their own outcome. Don't know if you can control destiny, but that's a debate for another day. We've heard that for years, however. But no, the bottom line, if the Jags don't lose, nobody can overtake them. It's that simple. So you do control, to a large degree, what seed you end up with in the postseason. You still got to clinch a postseason berth, by the way. Nobody in the NFL has done that at all across the league, but we all believe the Jags are headed that direction, JP, so it's just a matter of how many home games do they ultimately end up with. And to go into the season, as at times we've had some disappointments, at times we have some great successes, but I think most people, if you had said, entering your first game in December, if you've got the ability to win out and get the number 1 seed, you've done a lot right to that point.
Game day weather brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Currently 67 degrees, mostly cloudy. Temperatures in the 60s throughout the night and falling to around 60 degrees by the end of the game, maybe in the high 50s by the time it's all said and done. And very minimal, if any, chance of rain for tonight. Should be a perfect weather game for Monday Night Football. Here are some of today's top stories, starting with Monday night. The Jags playing for the first time on Monday Night Football since 2011. That means the majority of the team has never played on it. Head coach Doug Peterson knows the approach shouldn't change, even though the day and the audience has.
You know, one of the things that I'm going to keep talking to these guys about is just controlling emotion. Staying in the moment, obviously. Just focus on your job. You don't have to go out of your way or do anything extra special. I mean, that was good to have, you know, the Tennessee game on a Saturday night here. You know, obviously the playoff game Saturday night here. Of course, you know, Kansas City. It's just big moments. We haven't had many. You know, this team we're playing has been in a lot recently. So it's just how we handle that. You know, how we approach it. But just keep things the same.
Well, they moved the schedule back a day. They got an extra rest day early in the week, Mike, which is part of it. And then Thursday was the regular Wednesday, and on down the rest of the week. Saturday would have been the normal Friday. And now finally, game time coming up.
Yeah, look, after that stretch where they played a couple in London, you had the Thursday game after the home game back here in Jacksonville. If they can handle that, I think they can figure out a way to handle an extra day of preparation, and I'm not too worried about having one less going into next week. I mean, every team deals with this usually multiple times throughout the season. The Jags are going to have to get used to it, JP, because they're going to be more of a feature and a fixture, I think, on primetime football for the next few years.
Jaguars offense as a whole feeling better the last couple times out, and quarterback Trevor Lawrence explaining why this week.
We've been able to capitalize on some shots down the field, take advantage of some of those looks that maybe earlier in the season we weren't able to for whatever reason. Maybe it was a missed throw, maybe it was a drop, maybe it was protection. Any of those things can happen that prevent plays from being successful. So we've just been able to capitalize on more of those the last 2 weeks, and our run game has been really good. That helps too. We've been committed to that, and the guys up front, last week and against Tennessee as well, the guys have been protecting really, really great. So the more we can do that, the better we're going to be. And
yeah, shots down the field, that's what Trevor talked about. It's in his career, his early career now in year 3, it's the best statistically 20-plus air yard passing numbers that he's had in his career. Hey, they haven't had their full arsenal to be able to do a lot of that. When they've done it, it's been effective.
Well, that's the thing, right? They've got their full arsenal now with Zay Jones, and Brian and I went over in the first hour just how much more effective Calvin Ridley has been when Zay Jones is in the lineup. It's like night and day. Plus, the protection has been good in recent weeks. We'll see tonight, and Trey Hendrickson does bring in a double-digit sack resume into this contest, and let's hope that holds up as well. And then you've got, on top of that, Cameron Taylor-Britt, absent from this game, going on injured reserve. So there are a lot of conditions there to think the Jags are at least going to attempt some shots down the field and hopefully be successful.
One part of the offense that has not been so consistent so far is short yardage. Offensive coordinator Press Taylor discussing this week.
It's been hit and miss, honestly. We there's things we could do better, whether it's scheme, execution, play call, personnel usage. There's a lot of things that could continue to be better, and that's something we continue to work on. We spend a lot of time in our game planning process of making sure we're trying to put the best people in the best position to do what they do really well. It's something I think we'll continue to try to improve on as we go, no matter where you are, and until you're 100%, you want to continue to make that number as good as it could be.
All right, so the best short yardage offense in the NFL is
the Philadelphia Eagles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not the same kind of personnel as that, so they've had some hits and misses, as Press said.
You know what, though? How many teams have that kind of personnel? Not many teams even try that play. There are a few that have used like backup players in that role and things like that. But I think, JP, all you need to know is you've got the 1st and goal at the end of the half against Houston, and you're going to go for it, and you decide to run it. And I feel like they need to trick the defense a little bit. We'll pitch this one wide, and it's at times worked for them running that play. But most teams are going to get up there, run a quarterback sneak, or they're going to hand it to the fullback right up, or the tailback right up through the A gap, following a fullback or not, and that's the way you're going to try to punch it in. I get it. More teams throw in that scenario. But if you're going to run it and you run wide, that to me was a little bit of an indicator that they're not confident that they can move the team across from them off the defensive line.
So we'll see down the stretch now with a handful of games to go if they can improve it in the final month of the season. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley, off to the last couple games, been playing very well statistically, but he cannot stand the build-up before games, especially in prime time.
I hate the pregame, the run around. I just want to, how we go to practice? We just walk out there and start. I just want to walk to the game and start. I hate just the build up. It just itches me out, bro. I was pretty ready to play, bro. Yeah, I'll be ready to get out there. I probably told Evan every game, bro, why we got to warm up, bro? Hey, I'm ready.
Why do we have to warm up? Yeah, Calvin has been playing well lately, though, and as we talked about, a little of that is Zay is opening up some things, but a lot of that, too, is just him settling into his role here.
Yeah, for sure, but just taken away from that, you got to love Calvin Ridley's enthusiasm for the game. His love for the game is clearly back. He's ready to go. I think most of Jacksonville, there's a lot of pre-gaming going on today, right? A lot of folks getting ready for kickoff, but the closer we get, I think everyone's just ready to get this thing moving.
Let's get to the defense now. The Jags D had been leading the league in takeaways most of the season, but now coming into Week 13, the Jags were tied for 4th in the league with 20 takeaways, and outside linebacker Josh Allen knows that's the next step for the Jags defense. Get back on top.
To be number 1 in takeaways, we really pride ourselves on that. The last couple weeks we haven't got one, so for us, man, we got to get back on track. We've been doing a hell of a job on stopping the run and affecting the passer, but to be a complete team, to be the team that we know we can be, we got to get takeaways, and we want to be number 1 right now. We're number 2, and that's a weeks without getting them. So we got to get back on track.
So Josh Allen obviously has been rushing the passer very well. They're doing a lot in the run game, obviously. That's priority number 1 every week, Mike. But
taking that ball away is a close second for this group, and they've had a little bit of a lull in that department. But if the pressure continues, if they continue to put it in the quarterback's hands, and hey, good things will happen.
Yeah, we all know those things sometimes come in bunches, right? And often they come in bunches when you're playing against a backup quarterback. And Jake Browning is the starter now, but he's certainly only going into his second start in his NFL career, first one on the road. So hopefully they can get some pressure on him that either leads to maybe some sack fumbles or forcing him to throw the ball into some uncomfortable coverages, and the Jags come away with it.
We mentioned the 12 sacks for Josh Allen, 2.5 away from tying Calais Campbell for the single-season record for the Jaguars at 14.5. For the defensive coordinator, Mike Caldwell, it's a group effort up front to help everyone find success.
I think it goes together. We always talk about pass rush and coverage go together, but when you're rushing, you have to have someone on the other side that's collapse in the pocket, and the two guys inside also. Those guys, it all goes together. When you rush by yourself, there's too many lanes for the quarterback to get out. So I think the guys are doing a good job of rushing as a unit, and it's paying off.
Yeah, Trayvon Walker, a big piece of that, too, on the other side. Doesn't get a lot of the statistical output a lot of times, but his impact and just moving the pocket and setting the edge and everything he does physically can set up some other guys, and he's due for one of his own breakout games, too.
Well, let's hope so, right? I'd love for him to get that 2.5, 3-sack game tonight. It would be fantastic on prime time, kind of help validate the selection of him as the number 1 overall pick last year. But I don't think anybody thinks Josh Allen is not only going to set but blow the single-season record away, provided he stays healthy over the final 6 games.
Yeah, he's on that pace for sure. That's some of the best sound of the week. Bootleggers, get ready. Luke Combs is bringing 2 nights of the Growing Up and Getting Old tour to EverBank Stadium. It's May 3rd and 4th, 2024. Different special guests each night. Tickets on sale now at everbankstadium.com. Jaguars reporter Kai Stevens joining us in studio now. Monday Night Football, lights are on, crowd is showing up. There's traffic on all the bridges, and it's been a long time coming. Kai, good evening.
Good evening. I'm so happy for Jags fans. They deserve it. JP, I know you were out in the tailgating parking lots a little while ago, so I'm sorry we had to take you away, but I'm very excited.
I think everybody is. 2011, the last time. Trevor Lawrence was 12 years old the last time the Jags were on Monday night, so hey, you got to earn these things, and this organization kind of has been through a lot. Ownership change, coaching changes, GM changes, 9 different quarterbacks have started, a lot of losing football. Hey, TV executives and league executives like a product that you can show to a national audience. That's what this is finally again.
And I think Doug Peterson was hammering that home with the team this week, that they earned this right. You have to earn your way into prime time. They did that at the back end of last season. And now it's going to be about proving it on prime time, because you don't want to go out and lay an egg and make people regret making that decision. So I know it's not the matchup we were hoping for with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, when we saw the schedule come out at the beginning of the year, but it's still a huge opportunity to show yourself to a national audience, because you make an impression either way. That's how people will think of you, because they don't get to see Jaguars games every week.
Fortunately, I mean, how people think about them ultimately doesn't matter that much, right? If they go out and win the game and they don't worry about style points, and let's say it's 23-20, right? There'll be people that are going to say, well, see, the Jags are just not ready for their moment in the spotlight or whatever. But guess what? They'll still be number 1 in the AFC, right? So I do think players all, Kai, want to show out on these primetime games. There's no question about it. But I think this team is mature enough to realize, like Trevor said a few weeks ago, analysts analyze. We're just going to try to find a different way to win a football game every week.
Sure. I think that's fair. I think this team tries to block that out, but I know that they like to play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and this is an opportunity to kind of prove against that. Is what I think at a certain point you have to stop playing like you have a chip on your shoulder, and you have to go into a game expecting to win. And I think that's the change that they're trying to get to, because now that they've won games, they're getting 8-3, they're in the mix for a number 1 seed. You have to go out and really earn it the last couple games of the season.
How do they win this game tonight, Kai? What does it look like?
I think the defense is going to win the game. I would love to see a crazy game from Trevor Lawrence, but I think the defense, who, as we've talked about every single week, they're the backbone of this team, and they've been amazing. And I think essentially a rookie quarterback in Jake Browning for them as the pass rush has improved. I think Josh Allen is playing some of his best football that we've seen, and I think he's going to tee off today.
Sounds good to me. These are the moments you wait for, the moments that you remember on Monday Night Football, and we'll see what's in store for the Jaguars tonight. What do you have in store tonight, Kai?
We got a little pregame action. If you were at the game or coming to the game, get in your seat early, because I think they're doing a light show.
Yes, they are.
They're doing a light show with the app, and like it's all going to sync up, and they're turning all the lights out because it's a blackout game and right at player entrances. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on. You're definitely going to want to see it.
Yeah, get in the stadium early tonight. That's right. Get in early. Go to the app. You can opt in there. There's also QR codes when you walk in. I saw those earlier right inside the gates. You can just take a photo of that and opt in for your phone and be part of the light show tonight. Enjoy the game, Kai. Appreciate it.
Thanks, you guys, too.
Kai Stevens, Jaguars reporter with us, and plenty ahead. Back in a moment with Devin Lloyd, Jaguars linebacker in year number 2. And a big stage tonight for this Jaguars defense on Monday Night Football. An 8:15 kickoff for the Bengals and the Jaguars to wrap up Week 13. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today. Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A top public university with more than 100 majors, UNF is number 1 among state schools with the highest percentage of graduates employed in Florida. Affordable tuition, programs in high-demand fields, and faculty who care. Swoop into your future at UNF. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stahlmeyer. Football and Miller Lite. Duval's greatest pairing. Can cracks and kickoff. Tailgates going well past postgame. Sunday night overtime.
For the touchdown.
Followed by Monday morning pride. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given Sunday. You never forget the way some things taste. Jags football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues, and we're about 2 hours away, just inside of it now, from Monday Night Football, Week 13. The Cincinnati Bengals 5-6, the Jacksonville Jaguars 8-3. EverBank Stadium, Jacksonville, starting to fill up. Kickoff set for 8:15, and tonight's game presented by Florida Blue. Proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We're wrapping up Week 13 tonight, Mike. How about a look around the NFL?
Yeah, a lot of jockeying for playoff position, some injuries, some firings, all taking place over the course of the weekend. We'll start in the AFC South, where, stop me if you've heard this, the Tennessee Titans lost again.
I heard that.
Yeah, this time their 8th of the season yesterday. They fell to the Colts 31-28 in overtime. And in the process, Pro Bowl defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans picked up a knee injury that will reportedly keep him out for a couple of games. Now, realize they play the Jags in 6 weeks or 5 weeks from now, actually, in the final week of the season. We'll see if that season continues to go off the rails, if Simmons even makes it back at that point. Additionally, their special teams coordinator, Craig Aukerman, was fired after multiple breakdowns in punt protection contributed greatly to the loss, including a punt block that was returned for a touchdown and another one where the pressure got in there so quickly the punter had to take a big hit, and he got injured and had to leave the game, which contributed to them missing a field goal, or an extra point, I should say, which left the game tied late, as he was their primary holder as well. Special teams assistant Tom Quinn takes over in Aukerman's place for Tennessee. Meanwhile, the Colts, with the victory, hold on to the 7th spot in the current AFC playoff picture. In the process, their former linebacker, Shaquille Leonard, has agreed to terms on a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Leonard, released a couple of weeks ago, as the cumulative effect of injuries have made him less than the player he was a couple of seasons ago, although the Eagles say after watching him on film, he's still an impact player. We shall see. The Houston Texans bounce back from last week's loss to your Jacksonville Jaguars by holding off the Denver Broncos 22-17 as they picked off Russell Wilson in the end zone on Denver's final offensive snap of the game. However, the Texans will be without standout rookie wide receiver Tank Dell for the rest of the season. He suffered a broken fibula in the game. He had surgery today, and his season is done. The Jags face the Browns next week, and Cleveland could be without their top wide receiver as Amari Cooper suffered a concussion in yesterday's loss to the LA Rams. Cooper, of course, will need to clear the league's concussion protocol to be ready to play next Sunday. Only 3 players so far have made it back this season from concussions suffered the previous week, so we'll keep an eye on that throughout the course of the week. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett reportedly underwent ankle surgery today to accelerate the healing process on a high ankle sprain to his right ankle. He'll be out for Thursday Night Football for sure against the New England Patriots. While Coach Mike Tomlin declined to give a specific timetable for Pickett's return, he said the injury is not season-ending, and that's good for the Steelers. They are currently in the 5th spot in the AFC playoff picture with a record of 7-5. And finally, New Orleans quarterback Derek Carr left yesterday's loss to the Detroit Lions with a head injury. Carr also in the league's concussion protocol now, and reportedly has a rib injury to add more insult to more injury, I guess. And the Saints currently 1 game out of first place despite a losing record in the NFC South. They'll play the 1-11 Carolina Panthers in Week 14 with or without Carr.
There you have it. A look around the NFL. Of course, you mentioned next week the Jaguars in Cleveland, and I saw Kevin Stefanski today said Dorian Thompson-Robinson still in the concussion protocol at quarterback. Joe Flacco is a possibility there, but no official word as to who would start at quarterback yet.
No, Flacco actually played okay. I mean, Flacco's that guy. I've been talking about him all last week. Like, I think if you just played 7-on-7 drill football, he might be a top 5 quarterback. I mean, the arm has never left him. It's just all the rest of it, and hopefully the Jags can give him a workout in that pocket next week.
There you have it. That's next week in Cleveland. Tonight, Monday Night Football, the Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. And Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd is now in season number 2, and this time last season he was benched as a rookie, of course, a first-round pick. And earlier this week, in fact, last week, with John Ozer on the Ozone Podcast, discussed that experience last season of being benched as a rookie linebacker and much more.
Completely humbling myself and doing what's best for the team. You know, I completely bought into my role, and whatever they asked me to do, this is what I was just telling myself. Whatever they asked me to do, I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. And we were on a good team, too.
Right.
So I want to help the team win. At the end of the day, I want to win. And so I'm blessed to be in the position that I am to be on such a successful team with a lot of great players and really good coaches. So I don't want to hold the team back in any way. I want to do whatever I can to help propel the team to where we need to be.
Who did you lean on the most? Who's been, I guess, the coach, player, not just in that moment, but overall through your first, 20 games?
Yeah.
More than that.
I mean, my family support was so big, and as far as, in the building, I mean, really all the guys, Foye, Josh, some of the veteran guys, Rayshawn, I mean, all those guys had my back. Cisco, those guys really just kind of, were in a way reassuring that, I am the player that I am. And, they all had confidence in me still. And, everybody goes through it. It's better for me to have gone through that early. And obviously the expectations were different being a first-round pick. So, it was more kind of blown up. But everyone goes through it. And so just keep my head level.
When you're watching film of yourself now compared to last year, what do you see?
For me, I see stronger play, stronger and faster. And last year, one of the things I didn't know is, how important it was to keep building your strength throughout the year.
Okay.
And that's one thing that I built on this year from last year. Is
season wears you down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Big time. You're going to get guys that are way stronger than Pac-12 linemen, so you got to keep building your strength. And then you can see confidence within the scheme, understanding where to be, exactly how to fit certain run fits, or just even little things like vision and break. Get your landmark, settle, and then break. I always, in college, that wasn't a thing. We always kind of relayed off routes. And so that's what I was saying, though, like the NFL game is so much different. So understanding all the techniques in the NFL, and really that allows you to play fast. And so just all that little stuff.
It's almost a different sport, the NFL to college, and maybe that's exaggerating a little bit, but in terms of what it takes with what you're talking about, in terms of the knowledge going into a game that you have to have compared to college where you can sort of react. Am I getting that right?
For sure, yeah. Every college does it differently, and so some things in college will translate and some things won't. And so the things that don't, you have to break those habits.
Okay.
And some schools will have an NFL system, and some schools will have everything that we have in the NFL. Utah, we had a lot of things, but not all of them.
Right.
And so there was a lot of things that I had to learn, coverages that we didn't run in college I had to learn. So there was just, learning that needed to be done.
Gotcha. How do you not lose confidence?
For me, being a man of faith, you have to know who you are in God. And for me, I have to really, I see myself the way God sees me. And so whenever I do that, you realize, where your strength comes from. And with Him, you will never lose confidence. But really just preparation as well. You have to put in the work, and you have to do your part. You have to make sure that you're ready for whatever look you see.
Talking about this defense a little bit, it's for some reason doesn't seem to be a defense that people nationally talk about for some reason. But obviously, it seems like you guys are playing to the standard that you want to play, if that makes sense. What is it about you guys? Josh is really the guy right now who's getting, quote, love nationally. It's playing more as a team than about one guy. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Is that y'all's approach?
Josh is balling. He definitely deserves that, and I'm glad we have a representative.
Right.
And it's really, like you said, we're all playing together as one unit. Everybody shows up and works every day. We all communicate really well and have a genuine love and appreciation for one another and want to play for each other, and that all ties in together. And you see it manifest on the field by everybody's in the right spot, everybody's hunting, everybody's getting to the ball. Our MO, this is what we do, is we stop the run, we pressure the quarterback, and we create takeaways. And so that's what we strive to do best, and that fits the type of players we have as well.
That's Devin Lloyd, Jaguars linebacker. The full conversation on the Ozone Podcast and the official Jaguars Podcast Network. And Mikey is second on the team in tackles, 77 total tackles this year, 1 tackle for loss, 7 passes defensed. Probably could have had 2 interceptions the week he came back after the thumb surgery, and he's been all around the ball, and just seems like it's much clearer for him in year 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone's harped on that this year, and rightfully so, that the mental part of the game slows down for players in their second and third years, and Devin Lloyd now knows what he's doing. He knows his assignments. He seems to be able to execute them seamlessly, which opens up things for Foye Oluokun to be more concerned with his own play, and we've seen a tremendous year out of Foye as well. You're right. It's just odd. The ball does seem to find you in odd times, and if Devin Lloyd had 2 healthy hands, he might have a few picks there along the way. But honestly, I think one of the biggest pleasant surprises, I suppose, is the fact that we're not mentioning Devin Lloyd that much, right? It's almost like an offensive lineman. Like, he's not the kind of guy that's going to make a ton of splash plays, but I think last year he was more known for maybe at times being in the wrong spot, got benched in the middle of the season, and now it just seems like Devin Lloyd's the guy that the Jags drafted him to be, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, it was this week last season. It was his second week out of the lineup, and now a year later, a year wiser, and in the lineup and contributing in a big way for a Jaguars defense that's playing very well this season. Plenty ahead. We're about 15 minutes or so from inactives. It's an 8:15 kick tonight, so an hour and a half before kick. We'll have those coming down. We'll have a fantasy forecast coming up. Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth in a little bit. Up next, though, a pregame Huddle Up podcast. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser from the broadcast booth. We're coming up on Week 13, Monday Night Football, the Bengals and Jaguars. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today.
Huddle up, score the title of most fired up Jags fan and win the ultimate VIP watch party experience. 505 Southwestern has teamed up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bono's Pit Barbecue, and Yucatan Guac to give you and 30 friends an unforgettable experience. Hang with Jackson DeVille and the Roar cheerleaders at the Bono's Town Center location as you cheer on the Jags during their last game of the season against the Titans. Free food, course beer, and prizes included. Enter to win at Jaguars.com/sweepstakes.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
JEA is proud to be Northeast Florida's community-owned utility. So what does that mean? It means we serve our local customers, not investors. That we're always focused on keeping our costs as low as possible while exploring new ways to deliver clean, affordable energy and water. And that we invest in our people and infrastructure to deliver reliable, sustainable services. Because for 127 years, JEA has been here to serve you, and only you. JEA, your community, your utility.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Bengals and the Jaguars, an 8:15 kick for Monday Night Football. And tonight's game is presented by Florida Blue, proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we're in the final stretch of the regular season, only 2 home games remaining. Be there as the Jags go head-to-head with the Baltimore Ravens, Sunday, December 17th, Sunday Night Football. And grab your teal to help the Jags teal out the stands and get your tickets at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633 2000. Tonight, a blackout of the Bengals. We go up to the broadcast booth now and welcome in NFL Network analyst, Jaguars radio field analyst Bucky Brooks, Jaguars.com senior writer John Oehser, a pregame huddle-up podcast. And good evening, gentlemen. Monday Night Football, the lights are on. How are we tonight?
Great, man. This is great.
Bucky, liven up. It's great.
It's great, man. It's like blackout. We got black end zones, everything. This is going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and it shouldn't – I'm an analytical guy by nature, JP. You know, I like to take emotion out of it.
Yeah, sure.
It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but the difference in that sky being black as opposed to being blue and just the feeling you get and the energy you get, it's real. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a little extra couple days to get rested before the game for the team, Bucky, and then the schedule slides by a day, and then you're waiting all weekend, and all of a sudden all the games were on yesterday, and finally you get to play tonight. So, I think there are 20 players on the roster that have actually played on Monday Night Football. The rest have not, Bucky. So what can they expect when they run out of that tunnel tonight?
Look, it's going to be amped up. It'll be similar to the feel that they have to a playoff game. Everyone will be loud. You'll be keyed up. Everyone knows that you're the only show in town, meaning that everybody in the National Football League is checking you out. And so there'll be a little extra adrenaline. So you have to control the emotions the first 5 minutes of the game before you settle in. But it's a lot of fun. I think big-time players love playing in these games because these games have a little more significance.
Yeah, and I think they'll be fine handling it mainly because – they realistically did it twice at the end of last year. They played in a couple of Thursday games, which aren't this level. But last year, late in the season, they played on Saturday night twice in a playoff game and in a game getting to the playoff game. It was prime time. NBC was in town. So they've handled that situation. I think they'll handle it well, and they better because I think they're going to be in this situation a lot moving forward.
Yeah, let's hope so. And, I think the Bengals will be fired up, too. And their season is not over yet, at least from their perspective. They're still fighting to stay in the hunt in the AFC playoff picture. But the difference is they're going to run down that tunnel, and they're going to look around and realize Joe Burrow didn't come with them. So, look, it is what it is. No backup quarterback's as good as the starter generally. But Bucky and John, what, if anything, can Jake Browning do to really challenge this Jaguar defense tonight?
Well, look, if he starts stacking together completions, it'll make the defense change. So if he is patient, if he's effective, hitting the underneath players, and then the Jaguars have to kind of get out of character, then he can find some shots. Remember this, if T. Higgins comes back and he teams up with Jamar Chase and those guys, on the outside, they're explosive. And they could have some advantages that kind of tip in their favor. Then it's a matter of Jake Browning just giving his playmakers an opportunity to make plays. And so I think the most important thing for the defense, man, you got to respect the quarterback because he has weapons on the outside that can hurt the defense. Give him his proper respect. Don't just fall asleep at the wheel because they are still a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I think it's a night for the front seven, the Jaguars defense, and it's been a season for that group. I think they're the most consistent strength of this team. I think it's up to them to make Jake Browning not feel comfortable, at the same time taking Joe Mixon away and making Browning be in a lot of long yardage where, okay, it's nice to take the check down that Bucky was talking about, but stop the run and put them in long down and distance, and then that check down doesn't work, then you start feeling pressure. Just like I thought a couple weeks ago, the Titans game played into the Jaguars' hand because of their strong front seven. I think that's the strength of this team that will enable the Jaguars to win this game.
Bucky Brooks and John Oehser joining us, a pregame huddle-up podcast. I've got a question for the scout, John.
It's not me.
That's not you.
Okay,
it's Bucky,
all right.
Of course. We're talking about this front seven, and I know, John, you've been on this for a little bit now, and I'm curious Bucky's thoughts on the play of Trayvon Walker and how he might be overlooked a little bit in the success of that front seven. How is his play this year? And, he may not have the statistical numbers to show it, but it feels like he's playing big, Bucky. What do you think?
He is playing big. He's a power player. And I think when you look at Trayvon Walker, I think it's important to put him in the right bucket when you're trying to categorize how he impacts the game. He's a power rusher who's super disruptive against the run game. He's going to push the pocket as a pass rusher, and playing on opposite what has become a really good pass rusher, he can clean up and get you those garbage sacks that he's been able to get. And in this front, when they're playing a 5-man front on early downs, he has a tremendous amount of value. And so even though he's the number one overall pick and people want to compare him to Aiden Hutchinson and some of the other guys that are ringing up sack numbers, his value goes beyond what he does in the passing game. He's a complete player.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson has racked up one more sack than Trayvon. So, I've been saying it all year. I think he and Josh Allen are the two guys that I least want to lose on this defense. I think they're the key to the whole thing. They make it very tough to run in either direction. I think Trayvon Walker, excuse me on that one. It is a much greater presence in the pass rush than people give him credit for. And I think they're both huge reasons why this defense has been a winning playoff defense so far this year.
I think a lot of teams, particularly playoff contenders, lose their left tackle for an extended period of time. There'd be a little panic setting in. Obviously, the Jags have an experienced guy in Walker Little to put in. So other than the depth that they had available prior to the injury, what do they lose by going from Cam to Little, if anything?
Well, I mean, look, Cam is an experienced player who's played at a high level for this team, but he's also been out. I think with Walker Little, it's a chance to kind of set in there. You got new energy. You have someone who is stout and sturdy at the point of attack, maybe not as athletic as Cam Robinson, but he's shown in flashes when given time to prepare for the assignment, he can play really well. I think this could be a preview of what we could see going forward, because if you put him out there, he has success at left tackle, and you think about the other pieces that are already in place, say young offensive line that can get better. We'll see if Walker Little can handle the assignment tonight.
Yeah, I think it's most likely a preview of what we'll see going forward. But I think you lose a little bit of leadership and tone setting when you lose Cam Robinson. I also think there's times you lose a little bit in the run game because he's a mauling blocker over on that side. And I know Travis Etienne has spoke very highly of looking for Cam and looking for running off of Cam in that. But I don't think you lose a lot. I think this team really goes into a season wanting 7 offensive linemen that are basically equal. And I know Cam's starting, so he's the best. I don't think you lose a lot. I think what you mainly lose is that, there's no more margin of error. If you lose Walker Little, now you are talking about dipping a little deeper in terms of talent. As long as they stay healthy with this bunch, I don't think it's much worse than the offensive line they had going forward with Cam Robinson.
That's John Oehser, Bucky Brooks in the broadcast booth, JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios downstairs. Monday Night Football coming up 8:15, the Bengals and the Jaguars. Bucky, what is the best way to attack this Bengals defense? Where can they make hay tonight on offense?
Well, I mean, first thing you got to do is you got to protect them. You got to block up front. You got to make sure Trey Henderson and those guys up front aren't going to get after you, because even some of their unheralded players can create chaos at the point of attack. If you can block them, well, then you're dealing with a young secondary, a secondary that has had some issues. And so you just want to protect, give Trevor time, and then let Calvin Ridley and the boys go to work on the outside. The advantages favor the Jaguars, but it starts at the line of scrimmage. You just want to make sure that you keep Trevor clean. If he's clean, man, he can have a big game tonight.
Yeah, I think the key is the Jaguars' defense holds the Bengals' offense down long enough for the Jaguars' offense to get comfortable, if that makes sense. I thought that was their formula against Tennessee. I think that works again tonight. They need to run. They need to have confidence in the run, but I'm with Bucky. If you give Trevor time against this secondary, they have created turnovers, the Bengals, but they've given up big plays. I think you will see them continue to take deeper shots, to have a higher yards per completion. They've done that the last couple of games. I think that continues tonight.
All right, so other than turning it over, right, everybody agrees that's a big equalizer. What is the biggest threat that Cincinnati poses to this team tonight?
Look, man, they're
outside weapons, right?
Yeah, their talent in the passing game is still significant, and so you got to be able to handle those guys. And even though Jake Browning, the quarterback, is not what I would call an elite quarterback, those weapons on the outside are still elite. So the quick game, the screens, things where they can have big chunk plays on run after catch opportunities, you got to make sure that you tackle well in space. You got to make sure that you keep them in front, and you got to win your one-on-ones when you're matched up with those guys.
Yeah, what you don't want to me are big plays early where they protect Browning on a play, he gets it to Chase, and he busts one. All of a sudden, this team that's 5-6 and is sort of on the ropes believes, hey, remembers that they're good, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I think the first quarter of this game, first quarter and a half, is big to keep that from happening and to get a little lead. But if you give this team confidence and you let them believe, they've been to 2 straight championship games for a reason. There's a lot of good players with experience and with the ability to win big games.
All right, gentlemen, enjoy the evening tonight. Should be a fantastic atmosphere for the Bengals and Jaguars. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you.
Thanks, guys. John Oehser, Bucky Brooks upstairs. Check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. And we're coming in on Jaguars Radio Network coverage at the top of the hour. Countdown to kickoff begins at 7 o'clock ahead of the 8:15 kickoff. Up next, though, a fantasy forecast. And then Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth as well. The Bengals and Jaguars coming up. It's Monday Night Football, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Jaguars at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you've got the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. That's Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. Imagine traveling to watch the Jaguars take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville aboard a luxury private jet. Download the free Vaunt app at flyvaunt.com/Jags for your chance to win round-trip private flights, hotel stay, game tickets, and pregame field passes for you and 3 of your friends. When you become a Vaunt member, you can unlock the opportunity to fly private for an entire year for only $1,000. That's it. So download Vaunt at flyvaunt.com/Jags and discover a world of private jet travel today. Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Huddle up, score the title of most fired up Jags fan and win the ultimate VIP watch party experience. 505 Southwestern has teamed up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bono's Pit Barbecue, and Yucatan Guac to give you and 30 friends an unforgettable experience. Hang with Jackson DeVille and the Roar cheerleaders at the Bono's Town Center location as you cheer on the Jags during their last game of the season against the Titans. Free food, course beer, and prizes included. Enter to win at Jaguars.com/sweepstakes.
You know what you expect at an airport hotel. A bed, a shuttle that's never on time, and if you're lucky, a day-old Danish on your way out the door. But at the Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport, you get a renovated lobby, restaurant, and bar, and 10,000 square feet of luxurious space for memorable family and business events. So stop by, stay a while, and expect to be surprised. Crowne Plaza Jacksonville Airport. Book online or call 1-877-2-CROWN. That's 1-877-227-6963.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars. An 8:15 kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. Tonight's game presented by Florida Blue. Proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and support the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Time for the inactives. The Jaguars have 6 players down tonight. They've elevated 1. The players down this evening. Inactive for the Jags wide receiver Elijah Cooks is out tonight. Monteric Brown, cornerback, inactive for tonight's game. Yasir Abdullah, the rookie outside linebacker, will not play. Chandler Brewer, offensive lineman, inactive. Brenton Strange on the injury report this week. The tight end, the rookie out of Penn State, is inactive tonight. And veteran defensive tackle Angelo Blackson inactive for tonight's game as well. The standard elevation on game day for practice squad tight end Josh Peterson. He'll make his NFL debut tonight, the son of the Jaguars head coach.
Yes, he will, and good luck to him tonight along with his teammates as they'll be facing a team that won't have Cameron Taylor-Britt as the Bengals placed their starting corner on injured reserve. They will get T. Higgins back after he missed 3 games due to a hamstring injury, but the official inactive list for tonight for Cincinnati: running back Chris Evans, linebacker Devin Harper, center Trey Hill, offensive tackle Deontay Smith, and former Jaguar defensive tackle Jay Tufele will all be out for the Bengals tonight.
The inactives are in. Well, a lot of the fantasy scoring has been done, but there's one game left in Week 13. How about a fantasy forecast?
Yeah, just a few things to keep an eye on tonight. Like, you're likely pot committed to your lineup at this point in time. Not a whole lot of changes you could make. Maybe you were holding out hope that T. Higgins would be in there and you had a pivot and you want to get Higgins back in your lineup. But here are a few items that you should be aware of as you're maybe playing daily fantasy with this matchup tonight. The Steelers were bottom 5 in time of possession. They held the ball for over 37 minutes against Cincinnati last week. Tough to score when you don't have the football, and the Bengals were unable to sustain drives last week, and that was a home game there. Don't know if they're going to have much more success against this Jaguar defense tonight. And in addition to the time of possession, the Steeler running game really gave them fits. 148 yards from Najee Harris and Jalen Warren combined, along with a touchdown. So you would expect, if Travis Etienne's feeling good, and based on looking him out at there in pregame warmups, he looks like he is. He and Dearness Johnson could have a nice night tonight. Calvin Ridley, over 80 yards the last 2 weeks. That certainly coincides with the return of Zay Jones to the lineup. Went over these numbers earlier, JP. It's just shocking, honestly, the pace Ridley is on in Zay Jones games and games in which Zay Jones misses. In the games where Zay Jones doesn't play, Calvin Ridley's on a 17-game pace that would produce 51 catches, just over 600 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In the games Zay Jones does play, Calvin Ridley's on a pace to catch 99 passes for 1,520 yards and 14 scores. So guess what? Zay Jones is playing tonight, and so is Calvin Ridley, and Cameron Taylor-Britt is not at cornerback. Evan Ingram, 4 or more catches in every game this season, but he's only hit 60 yards twice receiving. So he's had a nice floor of production, but I know every Jaguar fan and every fantasy enthusiast is looking for him to get into the end zone. Hasn't done it so far this year. Could this be the first time tonight? All eyes on that. And for the Bengals, they split their tight end production up between 3 guys. Tanner Hudson, the most productive yardage-wise, but he hasn't scored this year. Irv Smith and Drew Sample have 3 TDs combined. None of these guys is a desired play in the lineup, particularly with a backup quarterback at the helm.
There you have it. Fantasy forecast for Monday Night Football. Let's go to the broadcast booth upstairs. Frank Frangie joining us now. He'll have the call of the game coming up at 8:15 for the Bengals and the Jaguars. It has been a long, strange trip from the last Monday night game in 2011 to right now. Frank, good evening.
Good evening, JP, to you and Mike. Yeah, I've never called one. I started doing this in 2014, so I'm excited about it. I think there's a buzz. There's been a buzz around town all day long. Black end zones, black uniforms, packed house. Can't wait.
Since that last Monday night game, there's been an ownership change. There have been, 7 head coaches, including Mel Tucker and another interim in that time, 4 different GMs, 9 different starters at quarterback, and a lot of bad football in that time frame. And that's a big reason why they haven't been on a lot of these primetime windows. But times change when you have a head coach that's done it before, that's competent, and a quarterback, and that can sell, Frank.
Yeah, that quarterback, by the way, Trevor Lawrence, was 12 years old, JP, just so you know. Yep. He was 12 the last time the Jags played on Monday night here. Look, Doug Peterson said it. You got to earn your way onto prime time. You got to earn your way onto a Monday night, and this team has done it. Think about this. We watched anybody that watched that 49ers team yesterday lay it to the Philadelphia Eagles, who came into the game 10-1. You could make the argument that's the best team in the league. Well, that's the only team that's beaten the Jaguars since September, the only one. So the Jags have a very good team. They've earned their way here, and I can't wait to see the way it plays out, JP.
All right, so Frank, all day long we've talked about the Jags are in position now that if they win out, nobody can catch them, right? They control what happens to them, and obviously their opponents have some say over that. But is that something that puts their performance over the top tonight? Is that something you'd rather just be able to focus on tonight's opponent, or is that something you think this team can handle?
Yeah, I think they can handle it, Mike. I think, and you know this, every coach is going to want to tell the players play the game. Don't get caught up in what it means. Don't get caught up in next week. Don't get caught up in how many games are left. Go play the game tonight. But I think this team is really good at that, at making the thing the thing. Watching them under Doug Peterson for 2 years, really, Mike, but kind of the middle of last year on, they don't get caught up in the nonsense. You know what I mean? They don't get caught up in the stakes or the standings. They just go play. And I think the best teams in the league do that, and I think they'll do that tonight. They control it all now. I mean, to control your destiny in December, everybody controls their destiny on Labor Day. To still control your destiny in December is a big deal. But I think they just go play the next game. I think they're very good at grasping the moment and being where their feet are and all those cliches that really matter. I think this team's good at that. I really do.
Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. What does this Jags offense feel like tonight? Run a little bit more? Does ETN get going? Is this Trevor Lawrence in prime time throwing it down the field?
Well, I think Mike made a really good point a minute ago during the fantasy update. This is the team you can really run on. And certainly the Steelers, who were just an okay football team, did it a week ago against the Bengals. But I think the Jags are the best. They're at their best when they're balanced, JP. One thing we've seen, you can say that about a lot of teams, most teams, I suppose. But this team, when Travis Etienne's in the mix and when they're throwing the ball vertically, which they've done a little more the last handful of games, that's what they're at their best. I think you're going to see a lot of it. It's going to be a beautiful night. Weather's not going to affect the game. It's a perfect night out here. I think you'll see balance, but I do think you'll see some Etienne. Now, look, he's banged up a little bit. He's going to play, but he did have a rib issue. So I think they're going to watch that. I think Dearness Johnson will probably, you won't see him on kickoffs tonight, would be my guess, JP. He'll be just playing football. I'm guessing Parker Washington will do both punts and kickoffs. So there's more Dearness Johnson available when you need him. But I think you'll see balance. I think that's how the Jags play.
So, Frank, I know a lot of the Jaguar fan base really craves that national media respect, right? So do you think we're going to get that kind of performance tonight that's going to make people sit up and take notice and really cast this Jaguar team as a true contender this year? Or do you think it's, hey, yeah, they beat Cincinnati, but they got a backup.
I think they're going to play. Yeah, I think they're going to play well. I think the Jags. It's a great question, Mike, and I hear you. But the Jags have won enough games going into this game that I think that narrative has changed some. You know what Trevor said a couple weeks ago. You want to change the narrative, play better, right? I think the Jags have won enough games going into this game that narrative about same old Jacksonville, if they won, it's because something blah blah blah. I don't think that's there anymore. Now, look, they could play a stinker tonight and lose or barely win, and then that changes. But I think they're going to play well, and I think they have served notice. I think they've won enough games in a row here. Again, they've lost one time since September. I don't care who you play. I don't care who you are. In this league, that is really hard to do, and they've done that. So I think they have served notice, and I think they'll play well again tonight to further serve that notice.
Sounds like a plan, Frank. Have a great call on Monday Night Football.
Okay, fellas, thank you.
Frank Frangie from the broadcast booth upstairs as the Jaguars prepare for their first Monday night appearance since 2011 when Trevor Lawrence was 12 and Wayne Weaver was the owner. That's a long, long time ago. It was the week after he announced that he was firing Jack Del Rio and selling the team.
You had a little hair back then, too.
I had a lot more hair back then. So
I did not
you.
have much. Not much. Not much different, really.
It's been a while.
Honestly.
Hey, long time coming, but now it's all about the stretch run and everything out in front for this Jaguars team. Number one seed, the number one priority for this group.
Just take them as they come. Win tonight, and you're still in position, right? And we got 6 more games of this, and I'm happy to ride it out one at a time.
Jaguars Radio Network coverage is next with Countdown to Kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day. We'll hear from Fred Taylor. We'll hear from Evan Ingram, tight end, Devin Lloyd as well, and the final word before kickoff with Jags head coach Doug Peterson. The Bengals and the Jaguars in just over an hour on Monday Night Football, and this has been the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix,